The funny part about it being called Dragon Ball Z is because it was supposed to be the last season of Dragon Ball. Hello and welcome to the Nen Show Podcast, where it is not the end. We're here again, your host Craftsdwarf with my co-host Mathwiz. Say hello, Mathwiz.
I'm really bad at coming up with a bit for this opening anymore.
Maybe it's because we like Dragon Ball, and I don't know. No, I don't know. I've been bad at them coming up with them lately too. Maybe it's whatever. Let's just get into comments, I guess. So Drema actually had an interesting point where they mentioned how Chaozu not knowing math kind of ties back to the training in the first reading with Roshi, because Roshi made a point.
That was a neat observation.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. It's so perfect, right? Because Roshi made a point to teach Goku and Krillin and make sure that they were literate and knew the basics of math, right? Which has nothing to do with martial arts, but it's martial arts is more Roshi's martial arts is more than just fighting. It's like a way to live, right? I even remember mentioning how Roshi basically tells Goku and Goku what he tells Goku becomes his ideology and just how he lives his life, right? Where with the Crane School, they clearly with Chaozu not knowing that, it kind of implies that they only know about fighting and killing, which is it's just a perfect contrast. And I was like, okay, it's that's a really neat observation, and I never thought about it like that before. Max Musterman also had an interest, the way he kind of talks about how transportation and methods of movement kind of works in early Dragon Ball. I never remotely thought about the story like that before. So that was interesting to read about. So there was also a mistake about maybe I misread. I think it was Mr. Grem's original comment, but because I mentioned the staff officer Black being called Sambo at some point, and that was at Toriyama. Because I feel in retrospect I should have caught on to that, because I don't know why I misread that as such, or why I assumed that as such. Because I feel Mr. Fusion would have brought that up, right? Because he reads the original Japanese. So apparently it was just a nickname that the anime staff used in regards to him, which is still not a good look, but it's okay, it's not Toriyama, even though he does draw racial caricatures, and so, or he has drawn, I should say, but so yeah, I just that's good to know. Thank you for keeping me from spreading more information. And the last one was more of a funny timing thing. Twill FTW noted that if we delayed that last episode a week, it would have come out on Piccolo Day on May 9th.
Yeah.
Because it came out on Mount. We never think. See, that's the problem, is especially because we record these less than a week in advance. And we've been on autopilot for so long. I do not think about the dates that these episodes come out on all. It comes out next Sunday. That's it.
Damn, you're telling me I could have taken a week off and it would have been beneficial for the podcast? Damn.
Right? But, yeah, so, because I remember we also missed the 3-year anniversary of the Nen Show, right? Where it's 3 years of this podcast, and it just passes by because we're what? Though I guess one thing at least you did note that hopefully we'll remember is that we are coming up on the 100th episode of the Nen Show, which I believe it's going to be the first episode of Dragon Ball Super. But that's you were hoping it would be the first episode of Saint Seiya.
Yeah, because I just forgot about Dragon Ball Super, and I was Saint Seiya, and then you're wait. And then I'm no. Yeah, so, just kind of neat little milestone that we've hit, or that we're going to hit soon. So that's what the real Z means. It's the end of the Nen Show.
And then we're finished with Dragon Ball. We're not reading Saint Seiya or anything else.
Who's ready for the Nen Show cast Z? The Nen Show, replace the S in cast with a Z. Nen Show cast. There's the bad opening joke that I couldn't think of earlier.
It just came up at the end of the opening instead of the beginning, like the Z. I don't know, because we're about to start the reading. That was bad too. Well, what are you here for if not two YouTubers being cringe? Anyway, so I guess real quick, what did you think about the reading overall while I get my books ready?
I will say this, because like with the Z split happening here, we're getting into material that I am way more like familiar with, but coming back to it after having because I was familiar with the original Dragon Ball and like I had seen the anime through, and I had also seen like the Z stuff, but I had never seen them back to back, like in proper chronological order.
Right, so you haven't really gone back to this material.
I'm really getting like that connection where it's like going straight from the 23rd tournament into the Saiyan arc and seeing that transition. So like there's a lot more that I think makes sense, like making that actual like chronological process.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I understand. Because, like, yeah, there's so much, like, even if, like, yeah, it is introducing this new antagonist, it's kind of blowing the whole setting open by having, like, it just says, yeah, Goku and Piccolo and Gohan, they're all aliens, right? So even if they're, but like it just changes so much, but also like it still builds on that old stuff. Like there's a notable part of the fight is Raditz having the weakness of his tail, which, right? Like we know that obviously from Dragon Ball, but if this is your first introduction to the story, that's just like, okay, this is the thing that's happening now. Right? It's just, and of course it especially shows, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of translation notes.
Because this is where like the Viz release, it's actually the manga, because the original Dragon Ball manga, there is no split. It is just one whole manga. But like in like when it was brought over, it was the release was split because the anime had already happened, I think, by that point, or was happening. And so,
the I believe the anime took off first before they really started like trying. Not that, I'm sure there. I know there were manga translations before Dragon Ball, but
there's just a whole bunch of translators' notes in the margins because it's like, people who are just starting with Z, they're not gonna know what this is. They're not gonna know what these things are. Right. And it's just a lot of those where I'm like.
Dragon, like, because like literally the first page is like, it says, 5 years after the events of Dragon Ball, but it's like, it's 5 years after the events of the 23rd Budokai, right? And there's a note that's saying, Dragon Ball was a story published before, or, that happened before Z of Goku's earlier adventures, and I'm like, but yeah, it's like I said before, it's obviously published with, this is people's first manga in mind, right? Like but not even like it's actually funny looking at, if you look at the volume covers for the English release of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, there are like the numbers of the Dragon Ball volumes. Like on the back of Goku's jacket here, it says 17. I remember the one with Piccolo, he's got like a button that says 20 on the or on the cloak or whatever.
But instead it says like volume 1 or volume 4, and it's like, that's not right.
Yeah.
That's not right. It's so funny. But I guess the thing that's bothersome for me is because I, unfortunately, I was a little wrong earlier. I have the 3-in-1s for Dragon Ball, but for Dragon Ball Z, I have the Viz Big edition, which are not the same thing, because the Viz Big edition has full color pages. Which is really nice to have.
Lucky you. For me, it just looks like really dark shaded. And
I know. The problem is, so apparently, they're not mine. They're technically my little brother's, and he lent off the first one of the Dragon Ball Z Viz Bigs to someone else, and they lost it. So I did have to find 2 volumes of the series online. I'm holding in my hands the physical volume for the end of Dragon Ball and the start of Dragon Ball Z. And then I'm gonna have to switch to digital for like 2 volumes, and then I can switch to my Viz Bigs for the rest of the series. So I have to deal with that. But no, I did get to see like unfortunately these are the scans without color that Mathwiz is forced to read. But I guess to answer my question is I don't think that there was major translation differences. I mean, there was apparently like some censorship differences. Like you mentioned, the Bulma's breasts were censored in some volumes. Where with me they weren't. But overall, the translation seems like this is as it was translated back in the early 2000s. But
another thing that I noticed was like because of how it had to be split between DBZ and the original Dragon Ball. So like the final volume of like the original Dragon Ball run is like an extra long volume because it had to fit like 14 chapters into it or something. Whereas like with Dragon Ball Z, it's just the 10 chapters, and it's like, whoa, this is a short volume. And so it's like I can see where they did the split, where in the original Dragon Ball it would have just been in the same volume.
No, yeah, see, because I noticed that too, because in my 3-in-1s, there's no change to what's in the chapters. It's just like, here's this one 3-in-1 where it's like the first like volume is and part of the second is Dragon Ball, and then the rest is just what's considered Dragon Ball Z. But when I moved to digital, they were scans of the Dragon Ball Z volumes. So the worst part for me was actually the number change, because it resets back to chapter 1.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I don't know what chapter, because the 3-in-1s don't, or at least these old 3-in-1s, but the Viz Bigs do. So for the rest of the series, I'm gonna have the wrong chapter number. So that's a little annoying. But you know, yeah, like we said, it's a product of the time period it was published in. Which you know, that Viz in particular seems more affected than a lot of the other releases we've read.
Yeah, because it would be like if there was a Naruto Shippuden manga or something like that. Where it would just be like, huh?
Oh god. And they actually did, apparently in the English Shonen Jump, I know they at least did it for, I think, One Piece, but they reset the chapter numbers for certain arcs, as a way, I guess, to kind of, like so it would be like Alabasta Chapter 1, instead of, like, the actual chapter number was, because, I guess, as a way to, like, keep the large chapter numbers from being off-putting to people. I don't know if it worked. But, you know, just, there's just weird little things here, and that's obviously not represented in the physical volumes, but, you know, it's, you know, English manga publication has its, localization has its history, so, and I guess we're just, you know, commenting on it as we see it, so, anyway, so we get the most, starting off, we get the most iconic character in all of Dragon Ball, the farmer with the shotgun. Like, see, now we get to the point where there's, like, so many memes, right? Because like Dragon Ball Z is just so clearly in the public conscious of the Western anime fan base that it's like a different beast entirely, right? So in some ways,
yeah, it's really funny because like in the context of the whole manga, this guy is just a random guy who is on screen for like a couple pages, whereas like, you know, with the split, it's like, oh, he's the first character you see in Dragon Ball Z. Iconic character,
right? One of the strongest humans, because as you know, all the power levels are that Raditz sees are 2, except for the farmer, who's a 5. No, well, kind of. It's like, because what I always took from that is that like it's more power levels more read like threat level, right? So he has a shotgun. He's just a little more dangerous than the average person, I guess. That who's just like passively just sitting around, but yeah, it's just a little thing that kind of establishes that whole concept that does kind of go throughout the next few. I'm pretty sure it stops in Cell or before Cell, but or Androids rather. But yeah.
Wait, in Cell? What? I'm sorry, I had to.
Yeah, no, you saw the opportunity, you took it. I respect it. But yeah, the said iconic character immediately dies, which is what makes him iconic. I don't know, but of course, he goes straight for Piccolo because he's also a strong person, which of course sets up for the later team up because he just sees how strong Raditz is. I don't know, it's good build up and setup. Like, it's just like interesting. Like, this character comes out of fucking nowhere and he's looking for someone, and it turns out it's fucking Goku, who's now called Kakarot. But anyway, Goku goes to the Kame house and with his son Gohan.
The art evolution over this reading is like interesting because it becomes the characters become a lot sharper and they have like more like I know I made the comment last time that like over the course of like DBZ, like Goku becomes like more muscular and there's just like more I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but like there definitely is a slight shift in the art style. Like I remember you had also mentioned a thing about like his eyes being drawn more open originally when he's an adult, and then like as the story goes on, like they close up more.
They feel more narrow, right? And I'm looking at, and even like by just like the start of Raditz to like the start of fighting Vegeta and Nappa, I feel like already the art is showing like a marked change. Like it's some slight change, but it's still like a noticeable change. right? So, yeah, it definitely stands out. Though I guess one thing I also didn't think about is just how, like, Gohan having his tail, aside from just being a recurring thing throughout the arcs, it also, like, you know, it's a good way to, like, serve as a sort of exposition reminder before Raditz shows up. But yeah, he does show up. He drops some bombshells about Goku. And yeah, I think we've kind of been talking about it, but the Saiyan retcon, it still, like, fits really well. Like, there was even a comment mentioning how, like, you know, he had his humanity question, or, like, you know, by Piccolo, I think, and he mentioned that maybe he's not even human, which, you know, again, probably wasn't, you know, maybe, you know, Toriyama, you know, he thought about, I did see, like, a tweet about how, like, he says that he does think a lot about when he, you know, does change the continuity like that. Like, it's not just, like, whimsical or just like, oh, I'm just going to do this, right? Because, you know, he has to think about how it fits into the story. But, you know, people just, at times, I definitely, you know, the sentiment of just like, oh, every manga's got to be planned out from beginning to end. But it's just like, that's not how stories work. But it works really well, I think. I can definitely see
I think it's the kind of thing where, like, having, you know, the more, like, certain open-ended, like, aspects of a story, or, like, details that just aren't addressed. Like, there's a lot in Goku's backstory as a kid that, you know, we know he's, like, a kid that grew up in the woods, and he had a grandfather. That's kind of it. And so, like, you know, we never meet his parents. So for it to be like, hey, you know, like, this is your heritage. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, there's, like, nothing to like, contradict that sort of thing.
Right. Like, I can understand being bothered because it's similar with, like, Star Wars and how it adds the midichlorians later into the series, and it's like it does kind of, like, demystify what was originally like especially with Piccolo and Kami, where there's a lot of, like, magical context to them. So, like, you know, making them aliens, like, it doesn't completely reduce them. Like, Kami still does a lot of, like, exceptional stuff that not every Namekian can do.
Yeah.
But it's still, like, you can argue that it does remove some of that mystical element to the story, by grounding it in a more like sci-fi context, I suppose. It doesn't bother me personally, but I'm also so familiar with it, having, you know, like, this is, you know, like, this is the part of the story that I became you know, familiar with first, right? And that's true for a lot of people. So, but yeah, like, I think it's fine. And I also kind of forgot, like, because I remember they, like, the Saiyans go around exterminating worlds, but I forgot that, like, the point was to sell them back later, to other races, which is like, wow, that's kind of shitty. But yeah, there was a little interesting exchange where I think, after Raditz kidnapped Gohan, Bulma said something about how, like, it's awful that he, you know, finding his family after all this time, and it just turns out to be Raditz, and Goku's kind of like, it doesn't matter who he is, like, I'm not going to forgive him. And of course, because, like, you know, Goku has never had, like, blood relation in his life, so he just kind of doesn't care, where Bulma, you know, she has her family and stuff, so she kind of, like, does have that value towards, you know, blood relation, so it makes sense that they would have this perspective. But of course, you know, Gohan, except for, like, you know, his current family with Chi-Chi and Gohan, because he's, you know, he's obviously going to save his son. But anyway, Piccolo comes in, they have to team up, of course. One thing that was weird, I feel like this fades away, the way Piccolo speaks.
Yeah, that didn't even happen in the original Dragon Ball, so I don't know, like, what the order was that these were translated in, or, like,
I'm pretty sure Z was definitely done first, I'm pretty sure. Like, so yeah, if you, like, yeah, we mentioned the translator notes and stuff, but, like, if you bought this when it was first released, you could not have read the original Dragon Ball, right? So it makes sense for them to have explained this, but it's like, spare me your folly. The speed of my flight will speak for itself. Like, that's not how he just sounded a couple volumes ago. But it was like yeah, it was published first. I don't even think it's how he sounds, like, later in the reading. Like, I think they just dropped that translation voice pretty quick. So, you know, I don't know what's going on there, or what they were trying to do with that, because I don't think that's how he was speaking in the dub either, or either of the because I think it was the Ocean dub that would have been popularized first, and then Funimation came around later. But you know, I don't think he spoke it like that in either one, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about the dub. I know there's like 5 Dragon Ball dubs.
Yeah, because like when you're bringing up the dub, I'm thinking like I don't know how much I should trust those as like being faithful to the original sort. Because like I don't know how much of like the materials or whatever they would have had. So like maybe Piccolo does have more of like a like regal sort of voice in like, but it just never translated through any like English. But I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, because that's true. Cause my assumption was just like, I was just wondering if like the dubs kind of influenced how they translated it here, because again, going by those original Dragon Ball volumes, I don't see it necessarily being like a thing in the original Japanese. Like maybe, and I feel like Mr. Fusion might have talked about that, but I haven't seen those episodes in so long. But anyway, I do like how even if like Krillin and like he got beat by just Raditz's tail, right? Like he recognizes like there's not a lot I can do in a fight, but they're still able to be proactive in going to gather the Dragon Balls. But yeah, you do have like the the nature versus nurture stuff. Raditz is continually referring to Kakarot's Saiyan blood that he needs to accept, where Goku keeps like I'm Goku of Earth, not who you're.
Is this a Nen Show character arc? Mathwiz recognizes a nature versus nurture theme?
But anyway, Raditz fights. He's really strong. Piccolo uses the Light of Death, which is like, I know it's it was Special Beam Cannon. That's the move I'm familiar with, but I don't know. I'm assuming this is a more accurate translation, but
It's also interesting that like they translate that technique, which I also know like in Japanese is Makan ko Sapo, but they don't translate like Vegeta's like Gallic Gun thing he uses later. Like they keep the original attack name, and like Kienzan, Taioken. So it's just like weird that they translated this one. But like Masenko, which I only found out like in this reading that Gohan using that technique is like Ma as in like demon, like Ma Junior.
Right, his suggestion to Piccolo, right. So you're like, I didn't think about that, how it is kind of all over the place, which I guess is also true because Kamehameha isn't translated, but in some so I don't know, it's a little weird, but not the end of the world. And of course, as Raditz finds out, like I like how Vegeta and Nappa kind of respond to it later, but because Raditz is just like, he's obsessed with their various power levels, and like he keeps like how the fuck because they drop their clothes and wow, their numbers went up, and of course they like when they focus their energy to do a beam attack, it goes up even higher, and he's just like, he's constantly losing his shit. But and it was also one thing I thought was interesting is that because he mentions like, even if we were of the similar strength, I'm more well trained than you, Kakarot. You can't beat me. And then it turns out, like, because Goku long ago trained his tail so that if it was grabbed, he wouldn't fall over from it. But Raditz never did, even though Nappa and Vegeta did. So Raditz, it doesn't exactly have a leg to stand on it when it comes to talking about training. But Raditz pretends to beg for mercy, and Goku lets go of the tail. Gohan comes out. He is pissed, and he's very strong. Anyway, Goku grabs Raditz, and Piccolo kills them both. Goku's fucking dead.
And I do really like the artwork in this fight. It's, a lot of like the charging up of the attacks and the... Like when Piccolo fires his technique the first time, and you have like the page is like sideways, and it's just like, I don't know. This is a fun fight.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of neat little things. I think it's definitely not my favorite fight this arc, but it's actually it might even be one of my least favorite ones. But that's that's not a mark against it. Like there's just some like this is the next part of the arc is just really good. But anyway, Goku's fucking dead. Piccolo brags about the Dragon Balls and kills Raditz, which sort of sets up for Vegeta and Nappa. So they kind of come up with their plan to deal with the next year, or as long as they would need to wait for the Saiyans to come. Piccolo steals Gohan to train him. Goku goes to the afterlife to train there.
Yeah, because I think an observation I had with this reading was like, coming to this arc in the story, following up everything else in the story to this point, I did like sort of the progression in terms of like Goku's training methods. Like I know I had complained about like in the first Piccolo arc that like with the Demon King there was like the stuff with the water where he just kind of like got a power up and the training wasn't particularly interesting. It was just kind of like speed run that arc. Whereas like, you know, for the 23rd tournament, like he was training in the heavens and now he's like training in the afterlife. So it's like still getting that kind of like natural progression, escalation sort of thing. And it's also like interesting to see how like the supporting cast are all kind of a step behind Goku because like in one arc he'll do one type of training and then in the next arc he'll move on to something else and the other cast will like catch up to where he was before. And so like at this point there's still like, you know, the martial arts aspect of it and like the whole progression of strength is still interesting. Whereas like I think beyond this point I don't really know any other like unique training stuff, like training montages or like arcs that we kind of get with Goku. But I don't know.
Not off the top of my head. Because I'm sure, you know, he does train. I just don't remember specifics, like beyond the hyperbolic time chamber being a thing that exists. But you know, yeah, that's I hadn't noticed about how like, yeah, he is a step ahead of everyone, like almost literally. And then, well, another thing I thought of is just sort of the framing of the afterlife and Enma as a kind of bureaucracy. I don't know if that was a trope before Dragon Ball, but I do know I've also seen it in Yu Yu Hakusho, right? Which, you know, I guess that's kind of like a more comedic, like, demystification of actual, you know, like, myth and religion and folklore and stuff. Where it's just like, yeah, here's the Lord of the Underworld. He's sitting behind a desk, right? But like they literally just drive Goku to the fucking Snake Road. Like I'm looking at it again, and there's something just funny about that. Like it's just he's in the afterlife in a car. Being driven to the mythical Snake Road where he can go to the master that he needs to find. It's a 1,000,000 kilometers long, but you know, just a car. But yeah, after all the speed running, I was actually surprised that there was practically half a volume, a whole volume of like the build up to Vegeta and Nappa's arrival.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you get Goku, you get a couple chapters of Gohan and Piccolo, you see what Krillin and Yamcha are doing with Kami for a bit. Like, you know, you see, and then there's the really cool page beforehand where, like, you just get a little flash of everyone training as the, you know, with the threat of the Saiyans coming down. And it's like, it's just a really cool sequence. And I like it.
I do also like the parallels that they do, or that Toriyama does, with the chapter structures, because, like, in one of the chapters, like, you see, like, because they're both doing, like, their own training stuff, but, like, there's one where, like, there's a panel of Gohan sleeping, and then below that is Goku sleeping on the Snake Road. And then, like, at the end of the next chapter, you can see, like, Goku's still running, and Gohan is training, and, yeah, so, like, there's like, neat little,
yeah.
They all kind of, like, connect at the end in that way.
And there's some gags, too, like, there's a part where, like, Piccolo is, like, you know, telling Gohan that Goku's not really a very good, like, training master, combat master, you know, and like, he's clearly not tough enough for it. And then Goku, like, sneezes, right? Because even though he's, like, literally on a different plane of existence, but Piccolo talking about it makes him sneeze, because it's just goofy. And of course, Piccolo and Gohan's relationship, like, that's another, you know, community kind of meme where, like, oh yeah, Gohan's real dad, Piccolo. But it's like, they do have a really good relationship, right? Though, of course, like, the obvious thing that is, that I didn't think about until Myster Fusion pointed out, is that Piccolo is only, like, 3 or 4 years older than Gohan, right? Which is weird to think about, but it's true. And also, it's like he's so tsundere. I already liked Piccolo Jr., but his relationship to Gohan adds so much to his character. Like, because he's trying to be a hard ass, but he can't. And like, like, this might be a Mystery Fusion thing I'm remembering, but, like, the way he kind of, like, forces Gohan to live alone in the wilderness, well, Piccolo presumably did that already, right? Because that's how he was born, just alone in the wilderness, and he just kind of, like, has a goal, beat Goku, and so he just trains alone. But here he is with Gohan, and he kind of, you could say that he's kind of, like, maybe putting Gohan through what he had to go through, but also, like, he can't just be, like, he's unable to just, you know, not be there for Gohan. Like, he had no one. Like, he gives him some food, right? And like you know, ultimately he dies protecting him from Nappa, and there's just like a little moments where he's just being protective of Gohan, and it's it's good. There's moments where he's not, like when he throws him into a rock to force him to unleash his hidden power, but you know, nobody's perfect. You know, I just realized that's funny because, again, I already mentioned the Nanmanji video about Goku being a bad father, but Goku never threw Gohan at like 500 miles an hour to a rock to force him to unleash his hidden power. I mean, he made him fight Cell, which maybe isn't much better, but...
It's also one of those things where, like, having more time with Goku beforehand, like, before he's an adult, does a lot more to, like... You know, as far as, like, that whole, discourse meme, like, just seeing how Goku, like, you know, actually seeing him grow up before he becomes a father, it's, like seeing, I guess, kind of the progression from, you know, like, him being on his own to then, like, going into the Raditz stuff and then the fights with the Saiyans, and, yeah, it kind of just, cuts a lot of the foundation off that argument. But like when you start with Z and you're like, oh man, he had a kid and the kid just fights and he's not, no.
Yeah, no, there was even a comment talking about how like going through Dragon Ball just kind of like it, compared to starting at Z, just completely fundamentally changes how you see Goku as a character.
Yeah,
because if you only have experienced Z, most of the time you're seeing Goku in these very serious life or death situations, and that's not emblematic of like Dragon Ball at all. And not that it doesn't happen, like, again with Piccolo, but because you don't see that, you don't really get a good grasp of Goku's character, right? Because it is way more varied than that. You know, so like, yeah, even if most of the series has Goku being more serious and in these life death circumstances, like, we have that foundation. We know at the end of the day, he's still Goku, right? So, yeah. But anyway, Gohan accidentally awakens his Oozaru form. Piccolo did not prepare for this one, but he does destroy the moon, just to be safe. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Poor Chi-Chi. Like, there's a chapter that starts with she's just going to the common house. Where the fuck is Goku? He said he'd visit Roshi and he'd be like right back. Where the fuck is my son? And then he goes to common house. Nobody fucking told Chi-Chi that her husband is dead and her son was kidnapped by the son of Demon King Piccolo. And I'm just like, oh. She just like faints because of course she does. And this poor woman. Like, it's not her fault everyone around her is irresponsible as fuck. But yeah, after 6 months, Gohan has kind of figured shit out. He's 5 years old, and he's already fighting dinosaurs and shit, like this poor kid. He's adapting really well, but it's still like, goddamn. Anyway, Gohan gets to King Kaio-sama's planet. I love how, again, with his utter lack of pretensions, he sees Bubbles and, you must be Kaio-sama. And then he's just being a monkey, and Goku's like, this must be training, and he just starts mimicking him. It's like, but anyway, Kaio has really bad jokes, and Goku makes him laugh without even trying. Like, he just says, like, I don't know what comedians read, comic books? Like, he's just being, like, legitimately, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do here, and it makes him laugh anyway. I don't know, it's there, like, I also like the bit where he's like, I like driving, and Goku's like sees the road and, like, the car that just, he just drives around the planet. It's like, like, I don't know. Oh yeah, I love the little scene where Gohan's like, you fought my dad, but you really don't seem a bad guy, even though everyone I know is afraid of you. And Piccolo's like, shut up, go to sleep. it's not like you mean anything to me or anything. Like, I love him. But yeah, Goku finishes training, though he can't just be, like, you know, he gets brought back to life, but he can't just go straight to Earth, which is unfortunate, because Vegeta and Nappa show up, and they immediately destroy an entire city. Actually, come to think of it, because the wish got used on Goku, yeah, or maybe later they're able to wish back and everyone who the Saiyans killed, but for now, they're just dead.
I missed the first part of what you said.
Oh no, I just like, yeah, Vegeta and Nappa destroy a whole town, a whole city, and I just commented on how, like, maybe I don't remember if they get brought back to life, because that becomes a regular thing. I just don't remember if it happened because they brought Goku back to life, but only Goku. So, but yeah, Vegeta and Nappa go towards Piccolo. They sort of exchange some words about the Dragon Balls and sort of figuring shit out. Like, they're very civil, all things considered. You know, for planet exterminating aliens, they're they have some sport to them, I suppose. Like, they, instead of actually fighting at first, they just do the cultivars, or the Saibamen, as I'm used to calling them. I don't know which is the original Japanese or which is closer, but Well,
I think that this part is also interesting because this is an observation I remember from Dragon Ball Dissection, where, like, he talks about, like, how this like the fighting here, like, all the characters are used to competing in, like, combat tournaments, and so, like, being put in this, like, life or death situation, it's starting off with, like, the Saibamen, and there are all these little, like, it does kind of start off as kind of like competitive-esque, like, there's more of, like, a, we'll do this, like, fight these guys one-on-one, and it's kind of like a game, like they even describe it as at first.
Yeah.
But then, like, gradually over the course of the fight, like, things get more and more serious, and then it's like, oh shit.
Right. Like, especially because, yeah, you get a body count in this arc that it hasn't really been matched before it, which is like, oh shit.
I know, like, I think someone had mentioned in the comments, like, oh, I wonder how Mathwiz is, if Mathwiz's opinion is going to change on, like, Yamcha's role as a jobber sort of thing. And I do kind of get the feeling in this arc that, like, because everything moves so fast, I think, like, ultimately the characters are used in ways that, like, the escalation, the, like, death escalation thing, works for, like, what the tone of the arc is doing. But then, like, also at the same time, Yamcha doesn't really get anything to do here. He just shows up and dies. And yeah, like, Tenshinhan gets a little moment. Chaozu, nothing really. Which is, like, kind of unfortunate. But that's just, this really just, I guess, sets the standard of, like, these characters are going to be on the sidelines with very little to do for the rest of the story.
Right, and, well, like, and yeah, it does set up, work for, like, yeah, like you said, work for the tone of the arc really well, because, like, everyone just starts, like, they're putting in their, efforts, but it's ultimately, like, they're not really able, like, yeah, Yamcha immediately dies against one of the weaker ones, right, even though he probably could have beaten him, but he's just, like, Yamcha's arrogance has always been a thing with him, though, right, so it's, like, he still hasn't quite been able to overcome that flaw. But
and he never will.
Right. Yeah. But though I guess the real unfortunate thing for Yamcha is, like, because when I got to that panel, the one, I had to stop reading to giggle for a few moments, because it's just, like, and it's unfortunate because, like, it, memes have kind of, like, I guess you could say, ruined this moment for me, because, like, it is this, like, dark and, serious moment where it's like, holy fucking shit. They easily killed one of the, like, oldest characters in the manga relative to, like, how long he's been in the manga. Like,
yeah.
Of the characters in this fight, he was the one introduced first.
Oh, yeah, I never considered that.
Right, like, the only one who the next one would have been Krillin, right? And then, so,
yeah.
And he's the first one to go. And it's just like, damn. But then here I am, like, looking at the panel of him in the crater, lying down, and I'm just like, it's funny. I'm sorry. It's been ruined by memes, but I can't help it. I'm my monkey brain sees association and it laughs. But But yeah, after that, they kind of are able to, like, yeah, even though it is a game, they find out why it's a game to the Saiyans, I guess, because they are just so much stronger that they're able to afford playing around. Like, even later on, like, obviously it comes to bite them in the ass, but they're like, yeah, we'll wait 3 hours, and if Kakarot isn't here, we're just gonna kill you. But, like, they needed those 3 hours, right? They needed every second they could get. So, Yamcha's unfortunately not able to give them as much time as he perhaps could have because of that arrogance, but once he dies, it does sort of, like, set the tone for the rest of them, and they are able, like, they give it their all. Like, Chaozu literally sacrifices himself, to no avail, because, which I realize is kind of a consistency, because I even thought later on, like, self-sacrificing moves tend not to work, because, like, we already mentioned back in the previous arc with Piccolo, where he had Roshi and Tenshinhan using the Mafuba. Those didn't work. Here you have Chaozu using a suicide attack. It did virtually nothing to Nappa. Then later on, you have, like, Goku teleports Imperfect Cell away as he's gonna blow up, and that doesn't stop Cell. He comes back. And then after that, you get Majin Vegeta destroying himself to try and kill Majin Buu. That doesn't work. So it's just like there is this consistent thing with just self-sacrificing attacks not really helping.
Yeah, I never considered that.
Yeah, so I just, like, I for some reason I only realized that here with Chaozu. Yeah.
I think another sort of interesting element in this this whole fight sequence for me was just seeing, like, certain characters still kind of evolving their techniques that we had seen them, like, use in previous arcs. Like, I remember the thing in when Krillin does, like, the beam, and it, like, splits into all the other beams, and he can, like, maneuver it, the whatever. Like, he did that in he did that in the tournament fight against Piccolo, where he had, like, the slower beam technique, but he was able to, like, move it around and stuff, and now he's kind of, like, evolved that more. And it's like, Yamcha's not around to really see any evolution on his technique. Right. I think, like, a thing I've also kind of been looking for is just the ways in which they are, because, like, if I remember correctly, like, a lot of the things later are just kind of, they're all just kind of like generic beam blasts. There's nothing particularly, I don't know, they all just kind of become similar. But, like, here we're still getting, Krillin has that technique, and then he also has the Kienzan, which is, like, the disc thingy.
Yes.
And so it's just, like, interesting to see characters doing different things, even if, they're not all that different, but, different enough, I guess.
No, yeah, I understand, especially because, because, yeah, this is where, this is, like, yeah, the most a lot of these characters will do for the remainder of the story. But it is nice to see, yeah, and even if, like, I mean, it doesn't amount to much, but that's also kind of the point, right? Like, to build up this arc of hopelessness so that when Goku comes to save the day, right? Like, I remember even, I just remembered Horikoshi of MHA, he even said that, like, All Might was partly inspired by Goku because of that, like, thing where, like, when Goku comes in, like, I am here, right? He's here to save the day, right? And just that idea of, like, when the hero comes, like, everything is fine. So, like, but it only works because of that buildup of all this, like, all these characters dying and, like, them sort of, pushed to the brink, and then Goku comes in, and it's, like, the best shit ever, because it's like, fuck yeah, Goku, let's go! But,
I also think that this arc has an interesting through line, like, with Piccolo, as just another carryover from the original Dragon Ball. Because, when you just watch it as Z, it's like, okay, he's this standoffish guy who is kind of tsundere, he's got the heart of gold underneath. But, like, with more of the context of, like, what he does before this point, just, like, seeing, like, there's that one panel where, like, he kills the Saibamen, and Tenshinhan is like, well, that's Piccolo, like, enjoy it while he's still on our side. And so, like, there's more of the dynamic with the other characters that works better.
Yeah, because I did mention that, like, he ultimately didn't, like, kill or hurt anyone significantly during the last tournament. But like I said, it wasn't for lack of trying. He was trying to kill people and destroy everything, but, like, it just, Goku protected everyone, so it didn't work. Right, because he's still like that, and after this point, he obviously, like, tones down even more. Gohan kind of humanizes him, right? He still does have that brutality, and, yeah. And yeah, because, like, even though, like, yeah, Tenshinhan and Yamcha were antagonists, but they weren't, like, evil, right? Like, or maybe Tenshinhan a little more, like, he more so, I suppose, than like Yamcha, but Piccolo far more so. You know, but yeah, it's definitely like, you know, interesting. And then, of course, they're all working together. And as we know, they're fighting Vegeta, who, like, you know, he becomes one of the most important characters in the series. So, yeah. But anyway, they beat the Saibamen. Nappa enters the conflict. Like, the first thing he does is punch off Ten Shinhan's arm. Like,
yeah,
he hits it, like, Jesus Christ. Like, he hits his arm so off that it just, like, fall, like, God damn. Like, they have a good presence. And, of course, the build-up to, like, there's the part where Vegeta just tells Nappa to stop, and Nappa stops, right?
Yeah.
Like, he just, because he's just, like, oh, shit, like, they're like, man, Nappa's already so strong, and Vegeta's even stronger, like, like, how the fuck are they gonna do this? Like, it's just a really good build-up. But yeah, they're able to get some hits and, you know, make Nappa show some battle damage, but overall he's just kind of unfazed. You know, they do the 3 hours of waiting. I
am very sad that, like, Ten Shinhan, just look how they massacred my boy. This is, like, I mean, I'd say, like, he definitely has more to do in this fight than Yamcha, because, you know, there's still more with, like, him and Chaozu. It's not much, but it's, like, it's something. And, you know, he has, like, I remember one cool moment later, but it's just, like, that's it. That's it for a lot of these characters, and it's like, I'm gonna miss my tall boy.
Rest in peace. You're not, well, you die, like, but he gets better, like, as you know, he comes back to life, but, you know, his role in the story is dead. So, yeah. But anyway, did 3 hours of waiting. Goku finally gets to Earth and heads out to go to the battleground, but, you know, yeah, they try to grab the tail, but Nappa's like, bitch, no. But even once Goku gets to Earth, it's still a few chapters before he shows up, and I guess, like, you even have Piccolo's sacrifice happening beforehand, where it's just like Toriyama gets as much as he fucking can out of, like, the wait for Goku, and I still think it's, like, really well handled.
Yeah, because like there had been like the Piccolo arc where, like, Goku coming in at the last minute is you know, it's something he's done before, but here it's like it's still kind of fresh. It's not, you know, Frieza arc or Cell arc where it's like we've seen it over and over again.
Yeah. And I think part of the way that, like, yeah, even comparing it to the Piccolo arc is because it takes so long. Like, that's one thing I do like about this arc is that the characters give it their fucking all.
Yeah.
Like, I'll bring up even Vegeta in a little bit, but they are pushed to farther than they ever have before. Like even Goku having, like, 3 of his limbs broken against Piccolo, Demon King Piccolo, I should say, like, that's still not close to how far as he was pushed this time, right? So it's just, like, it's really stand out.
Yeah, and, like, with the art too, I remember this is another observation from Dragon Ball Dissection, but that, like, by the end of the fight, everybody is just in shambles, like, all their outfits all torn up, limbs broken. Yeah. It's just very detailed as far as, like, battle damage.
And that's what I want to point out about Vegeta in particular, because, yeah, even though, like, yeah, the main characters have been pushed farther than they ever have before, but Vegeta himself has also been pushed further than any villain beforehand, right? Like, I can't remember any other antagonist who suffered that level of battle damage, like, and still kept fucking fighting. Like, holy shit. Vegeta is just this, like, massive, you know, presence that they need to fight for so long and just gradually wear down, and like, it's just he's a resilient fucker, and it really, you know, it really works well.
Yeah, and I think that's also a thing that this arc does well, as far as, like, using its characters, because like, of the characters who have, like, you know, a more major role in things, you know, it's like a team effort to beat these people. Like, even with Nappa, they do inflict, like, a good amount of damage before Goku gets there. Like, he's still able to fight, but, you know, they're all working together and getting their own little moments in there.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, with Vegeta, like, Goku couldn't have done it by himself, and, like, Krillin, Gohan, they couldn't have done it. Like, even Yajirobe gets something to do.
Right, after avoiding the fight. Like, even, I completely forgot that he was also involved with the training with Kami.
Yeah, but,
because...
like, it works in that way, because, like, Vegeta doesn't even know he exists, and that's why
right,
he's able to...
Right, like, because he predicts that Krillin's gonna get involved, because he's like, Gohan was gonna come at me alone, but then it's like, Yajirobe comes in, and he's like, what? How can I predict that there are 3? Like, you fuckers. Anyway, we're skipping ahead a little bit. So yeah, Goku's on his way. Piccolo sacrifices himself for Gohan. The fucking where he's like, those months we spent together weren't so bad. I'm like, you can't do this, fucker. I didn't cry. I did get a little emotional though. But it's like, I just like Piccolo Jr. a lot, and
yeah, he's good.
But yeah, Nappa tries to go Gohan, and Goku saves him, and Goku's here.
There was like a little interesting interaction I found interesting. Like there was the part where Goku shows up and Krillin's like, wow, I've never seen Goku so angry. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, the only other time I could think of Goku being this angry was like when Krillin died.
That's right. Yeah, he wouldn't have seen Goku that angry, even though he was that angry before, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, he gets Krillin and Gohan out of harm's way before powering up to fight Nappa. And
I swear to God, I would like. Part of me was a little surprised there wasn't a translator's note about like the over 8,000.
Right, because
technically
we're
that's
OG
correct.
Memes. No, yeah, it's
just more thinking of it like with like, yeah, again like the meme status of like over 9,000. That it's like, oh, they didn't feel the need to like, no, here's why this is translated this way. Don't, especially with like all the other little translators notes that are there. It's almost like, but I guess that one would have, they didn't need to do that one, right? Because it's not
it's
context that we don't have. It's just more of like the meme, right?
And I don't think it would have been a meme until a few years after this volume would have been published originally. Because it was more in the mid-2000s that it didn't become a meme from the airing of the dub. It became a meme from Kajeto-kun's video, where he kind of remixed it, sort of. Like, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. He did a bunch of other meme videos. Like, there's some, and just where he takes some other phrases and memes out of them. Like, another one is there's Goku from the Vegeta, and I think he's talking about like using the Kaioken, and he's like, I hope my body can take it. And he made these kind of like shitpost videos, and the over 9,000 one in particular blew the fuck up and took off in a major way. Right, so I don't think it was a meme at the time that this would have been published though. So yeah, it was definitely like a discrepancy between it and the dub that would have been popular at the time, but it's not the only one, so I don't think there would have been a translation note, unless it was published, retranslated more recently. Yeah. That's just because I remember seeing those videos, being subscribed to him in high school. Like, like it was one weird thing is that he had like a Monster Hunter video, gotcha bitch, and that was him. And like, but I watched that video before I even played Monster Hunter, and now I'm like, oh yeah, Monster Hunter, that's like my favorite video game franchise now. So like, I just went on like, you mentioned over 9,000, and my brain just like went back 15 years, and I'm like, oh, ooh, getting woozy. But
See, like, you mentioned that, and I'm like, I didn't even know there was a meme video where it originated. I thought it was just something about the phrase that it just, like, became a meme from the show. I didn't realize that there was, like, more to it. Mm-hmm. Which makes sense. I'm just, I don't know. Wasn't on the internet in 2006.
Right. And you became familiar with the meme, like, after the fact, but I remember when it became a meme, and, because I'm old, help me, I'm old now, I'm 30, please, anyway.
Yeah, that's right, you're an old man, what are you even doing on this Shounen Manga podcast? Time to replace Craftsdwarf for the new co-host.
We need the next generation to come in. Us old guys need to pass the
Nen Show
torch.
Passing the torch arc.
But yeah, it's also pretty satisfying seeing Goku just beat the fucking shit out of Nappa, because like all that, he did have a lot of presence, right? Though we do know that like Vegeta is stronger than him, but then Goku just like completely manhandles him and doesn't even take any significant damage, or any damage, I don't think. But And I love the part where he just like he's attacking him and he's like, this one's for Ten Shinhan, this one's for Yamcha. Like he's being a bit of an avenger, right? Like, you know, because he can be kind of vengeful, as we've discussed. Yeah. And so we see that where he's like, you know, you fuckers killed my friends, so I'm gonna, here's some hits for their sake. And it's and he just beats his fucking ass. Especially there's the one panel where he like hits Nappa, and then he like moves so fast that he goes to the other side and like stops him, and like he's holding him up, and that's just real. That image stands out to me for some reason of him just holding Nappa over him.
Yeah,
and it's a good beatdown. And then of course Vegeta shows his ruthlessness by killing Nappa, you know, which is Jesus Christ.
I think like maybe there's something that can be read into here of like how like differing dynamics. I don't know of like a way to connect the dots, but like how you know, like the Saiyans are all about like, oh, what good are you if you can't fight, and then, you know, discarding things that they don't need. So like Vegeta killing Nappa here, whereas like later like I don't know, I was like, the thing that came to mind was like Yajirobe, how like you know, also tying back to our discussion earlier about how like every character kind of has their role in terms of you know, wearing the person down, and so like, you know, like if the people, you know, if like the Earthlings were just as cruel about like, oh, just, you know, you're even thinking back to how like Goku and Krillin come back to like help Goku, like if Goku had just like, you know, cast them aside or something, then it's like he wouldn't have won. So maybe there's like something there with like connections, or I don't know.
No, well, I actually see it's like, I didn't think about this until you were talking about it just now, and I'm like, oh, wait, maybe this is it. Because I just like how, I guess, sort of martial arts is used as like a way to connect, where like, if you consider like, and this is also drawing from future knowledge, because if you consider how Frieza's army works, it's very like, you know, they're all super violent and powerful, but, you know, there isn't necessarily a lot, you know, that like the Ginyu squad, I guess, but, you know, overall it's like they're more competitive and ruthless towards each other. And of course, like Frieza is just alone standing above all of them. Right? So where, as we've seen with Dragon Ball thus far, is like, part of the, you know, when Roshi's raising Krillin and Goku as fighters, like part of the, you know, they're competitive in a friendly way, right? So it's like, you just have like martial arts as like, you know, and yeah, as they fight against Vegeta, like Vegeta's a character who like rejects any kind of connection because he kills Nappa. When hypothetically, if like they teamed up and didn't condescend to the Earthlings and treat it like a game, then maybe they would have won, right? Or at least because if Vegeta actually fought, everyone would have been dead by the time Goku got there, most likely, right? Because he's just that much stronger than Nappa. But, you know, they don't have a connection, and they're just more using, like, they're playing around. They're because they're too strong. Where like the Earth characters, they're fighting their hardest. They're using teamwork because, you know, martial arts isn't something, or their combat abilities aren't something that separates them. I guess maybe you could read it that way. So I don't know. That's just the thought, like my follow up thought to your suggestion. And I guess another thing is because you have the little exchange that Goku and Vegeta have, where Vegeta mentions that, like, you know, he's a hybrid, he's a nobility, blue blood, right? Like he's you know, his strength comes in part from that, like, you know, his class, where Goku is, you know, just like, you know, he's a lowborn, he was sent to this backwater world to conquer it. But, you know, Goku sort of retorts that, like, you know, on this planet, even, you know, the lowborn can outdo the elite if they, you know, work hard enough at it. And, like, in a way, like, if you just look at Goku and Vegeta, like, you know, you could say, like, yeah, at the end of the story, Goku is stronger than Vegeta, and Vegeta ultimately recognizes it. But at this point, Goku is not able to beat Vegeta alone, even with all that hard work.
Yeah.
But, like, with all of his comrades and all of them who have gotten this strength by working hard, like, even Yajirobe, like, he was training as well, you know, and he, you know, so, and yeah, like you were kind of getting at, is, like, he was this weak element that he didn't even fight the Saiyans, but he also had he was the one, like, possibly one of the most key roles in the fight. You know, but they didn't turn him away, even though, like, he's, you know, personality wise he's kind of a shithead compared to the other guys. Like, there's even the part where he's, like, groveling to Vegeta at some point, or after he cut the tail, I think, because Vegeta wasn't taken out by that. You know, like, so he's just kind of a, you know, but they don't cut him out, like, he's still an ally and a comrade, right? So I don't know. I thought I was going somewhere. Maybe I lost my point in there, but
well, also thinking of how the nature versus nurture thing about how like, oh, Vegeta is this like pure-blooded Saiyan where like he is very and he has the thing as well about like, oh, like spilling my royal blood sort of thing, that he's very in tune with his Saiyan heritage and is very like that's where he gets his power from, whereas with Goku he is very like, a lot of his strength comes from his, being raised on Earth. And so it's more of like rejecting, or maybe not even rejecting, but like, it's not his Saiyan instincts that give him strength, but it's like, so it's not his nature that gives him strength, but it's like the bonds and stuff that he forged on Earth and, the training he was able to acquire through like his life on Earth. And so like his nurture, I'm not the best at like connecting these points because I normally don't even observe the nature versus nurture theme, but here I'm just like, I'm trying.
No, that's definitely, I think, especially in the context of this arc, right, it's Goku's strength as an Earthling against Vegeta's strength as a Saiyan, right? But his strength as an Earthling isn't just, even his martial arts, his spirit bomb, or Genki Dama, his, everything. It's also like the connections he's made and his friends and stuff, right? Because later on he does accept his heritage as a part of himself, like, because Super Saiyan, right? Like, he can't be a Super Saiyan without like acknowledging that he is a Saiyan, I suppose, and we'll see how that reads when we get to Namek. There's also some other like related observations that come up during this arc. I remember from I think the Seth the Programmer video, but but yeah, in the context of this arc, right? It's he is not Kakarot. He is not who he was defined as by the Saiyans, right? He is who he himself decides that he is. So he's not Kakarot, the lowborn Saiyan warrior. He is Goku, the defender of Earth, and that very much like comes clear in the fight as he uses everything that he has to continue to fight against Vegeta, and it's good.
I also just want to say, like, the fight starting off with 2 whole color chapters, like, my god, this poor man.
Toriyama, please, I know, you're doing your best.
It really helps, I think, sell the fight as, like, yeah, this is one of the most, like, iconic moments in Dragon Ball. And, like, the fact that it has these 2 color pages, obviously they wouldn't have known that, like, as it was happening, in terms of, like, in hindsight, right? But in hindsight, seeing it this way, it's just, like, yeah, but it's also just more like manga working conditions, and it's like, oh my god, please don't kill this man.
Right, I'm actually kind of curious as to like when, because I know Dragon Ball Z was really when Dragon Ball like became a mega hit, right? Like because it was already like successful and popular. Like it wouldn't have gotten as many color pages if it wasn't. But I do kind of wonder. I just wonder where's the arc of it. And like when did it peak? Like when was the most popular time? Was it in Cell? Was it in Namek? I assume I don't know. I have no idea. Because like normally they hit a high point and then they kind of like level out, right? So it's but so I'm just wondering like when that high point was. And I older volume sales numbers aren't as easy to find as I understand it. So who knows? Maybe someone does. But I'm just curious. But anyway, they fight. The art is really fucking good.
This is the part where I get to make my nitpick about how, like, oh, the boys are getting more muscular, and so they're less appealing to me.
Oh, no. No, yeah, like, because I'm looking at, like, especially once Goku loses his shirt, I'm like, oh, yeah, he's huge.
Yeah, like, I even looked back to, like, the fight against Piccolo, and it's like, yeah, he is being drawn different. It's not just me.
Right, like, because I mean, yeah, or I guess even Raditz, he's not this big, right? Which because I was gonna say like the difference between Goku versus Piccolo is like 5 years. The difference between Goku versus Raditz is like 1 year, and he spent it dead, right? So it's just like the Kaioken and and of course Toriyama's art style changing how he draws them a lot.
But yeah, again, just looking at like panel layouts and the general art of this fight and the choreography of everything, like all the movements have a nice flow through the panels. It's Toriyama. A hot take: Toriyama has good art.
What? Excuse me, Mathwiz. That is an absolute zero take, as we have already discussed. No, it's fine. It is really good.
It's also, I think, like, I've seen this fight in the anime numerous times, so, like, even just seeing the choreography through the manga, like, I'm, like, connecting the movements in my head from, like, seeing the fight animated.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, it's I love it when the manga art is like so clear, like you can almost see it animated in front of you, even though it's static images. But it's it's just really effective. And yeah, I guess another thing that stuck out to me is like that I just got to is when Vegeta, because Goku beats up on him a bit, and Vegeta's like, I'm the strongest, and he's pissed. Like, the expressions of him just being, like, he's got the veins in his, like, the bloodshot eyes. He's mad. And he is so desperate to protect his pride as a warrior that he goes, like, we came here for the Dragon Balls and for the resale value of Earth after we exterminate its population. I'm gonna destroy the planet. Like, he wants to protect, he cares so much about his Saiyan pride that rather than, like, admit any, like, maybe I should get a little stronger. Now he's like, no, I'm gonna blow up Earth. Fuck you, Kakarot. Fuck everything. And that leads to the beam struggle, and probably one of the more iconic ones. And I mean, there's that maybe up there with I think it's hard to surpass like Cell and Gohan, but it's definitely up there, I think. Because it is a beam struggle to literally, like, if Goku fucks up, Earth is just destroyed. And, he pulls out the Kaioken, a stronger version to overpower it. It fucks up his body, though, but he does. Oh, right. So I guess this part is kind of interesting in regards to, like, Goku and his Saiyan heritage, because, like, it's been a point that he hasn't recognized, that he killed his grandpa until now. And, he sees Vegeta and is like, what? And then he kind of, he's like, oh, shit. Like, he finally realizes it, and, he's,
I think that's a really nice touch. Like, I feel like it could have been an easy thing to miss, like, Toriyama, planning this moment out and just, like, not thinking to tie it back, especially, like, in the process of, like, making a weekly manga. But I do like that, that he does set aside a time where, like, Goku has this realization of, like, oh. Because, like, it's a mystery that's kind of been hanging in the background that he, like, hasn't been aware of, and the series could have never addressed it, really. But Toriyama going out of his way to, like, include this in here is a nice touch.
Right, and it does go by pretty quick, all things considered, but it's also, like, it's just, he had to, like, reconcile that, and, yep. And I guess, like, one thing, because, you could say it's, like, he wasn't able, like, he was able to, like, knock, Vegeta off his pedestal a bit, but even with the Genki Dama, he really couldn't defeat the Oozaru form Vegeta alone. Yeah. Right, and so at that point, that's when, Krillin and Gohan and Yajirobe had to come in to help. Like, I do like he keeps, like, fighting. Like, I'm at the one page where he just uses the last of his energy to shoot a beam and gets Vegeta in the eye, more as a middle finger to him to anything. And it's like, but anyway, then we get Krillin comes in, Vegeta dodges before Yajirobe comes in and successfully cuts off the tail, coming in the clutch.
Actually, a thing I realized about this fight, again, making another, like, tying it back to, like, the Demon King Piccolo arc, how, like, with that arc, Piccolo seems unstoppable through, like, the build-up portion, less so in the fight itself. But whereas, like, here, the characters are very confident going into the battle with the Saiyans and thinking, like, oh, we might be able to do this. And it's like, as the fight progresses, we see just how unattainable the strength of these characters is. And so, like, in that way, it's sort of different from how Piccolo was built up, that, like, just looking at, like, the fight with Vegeta here, that, like, Goku gets utterly destroyed, and then everybody else has to, like, work in to help out, and it's just, no matter how much they do to him, Vegeta still keeps getting back up for more, and it's, so it's more like the action itself is, like, building up the presence of this character.
Yeah, and what you made me think of is, like, because, the first part of the arc is very much this sort of, like, they go into the arc very hopeful, right? Like, we're strong, we've been training, we're all stronger. I think we're all stronger than Raditz. I think we can do this. And then, like, it, through the Nappa fight, like, and the Saibamen, their hope is just gradually, like, crushed down until it's literally down to Krillin and Gohan. And then Goku brings it back. He honestly doesn't last that long, all things considered. Like, yeah, he fights Vegeta, but then once he's Oozaru Vegeta, he just, like, completely kicks Goku's ass. And then from that point on, it is kind of, like, capitalizing on, like, the smallest points of hope that they can get, basically. And just, like, and at the end of it, like, it's, I guess what I thought was interesting is that, because what I just realized is, like, because Vegeta just gives up, right? He's like, fuck this, I'm done, where's my spaceship? Like, after he gets crushed by Gohan, and after that point, he's just like, okay, fine. The 5-year-old has dropped me to my lowest point in my entire life. I'm just gonna leave, right? So, like, the Earthlings refuse to give up no matter what until, and their stubbornness and tenacity just kind of outlasted Vegeta.
Yeah,
and it's it's just it's my favorite fight in the manga so far, is everyone versus Vegeta. And
I would probably agree. Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, I think I do like that sort of the fight not ending in like a super climactic way, even though you do get all these different techniques like the Kaioken, the Genki Dama. There's like all of these moments where it could end climactically, but none of them are the finishing blow. It's just more like the accumulation of everything that it is just eventually like, whenever the character finally quits.
Yeah,
and it works in that way, tying into like the hope and stuff, and how like all the characters just visually are just completely broken by the end. Yeah, it's good.
And I guess one thing that stood out to me is the how the Genki Dama was used, because like when I think of it, I always think of it as this like finishing move, but really thinking back, it finishes like no fights until like the very end of the series.
Yeah, yeah.
And like here, it's barely like Goku doesn't even get the chance to use it against Vegeta. He passes it off to Krillin, and it does actually get a good hit against Vegeta. And I guess that is like the last major part of the exchange. But even then, it's not the end of Vegeta, like, because he still, has the fight with Oozaru Gohan, and Yajirobe even comes in again for a bit, which I completely forgot about, because, like, he spends so little of the fight in it that I'm like, oh yeah, he does come back with his sword and tries to get at Vegeta when he's at his weakest. And it's just like, God, there's so many little good parts of the fight.
I even like the little details where, like, Vegeta does his big blast to like try to kill everybody in one shot, but he doesn't have the strength left, and he's like, why are they all still alive? It's more just like him slowly coming to grips with like, oh, I'm like dying here. Right, like finish this quickly.
He's facing his weakest. Like, he's never been this weak before, right? And especially, because I've seen this explored in other things where, like, as royalty, like, perfection is kind of expected, right? So it's like he has to be the best, because otherwise he's not valid as the Prince of the Saiyans, right? So it's like, and it kind of like circles into itself where, like, he's the Prince of the Saiyans, he's the best, and like he kind of has to be both to uphold both. And so in this case, like, once him being the best starts to like slip from his grasp, it makes, I guess it's setting up for like his character stuff later as well. But God, Vegeta's so good. But yeah, Oozaru Gohan comes out. I love the part where, like, even Vegeta, like, cuts off his tail, but the way, like, Gohan just, like, comes down and crushes him is, like, he's just like, what? Like, didn't think that went through. And that's when he just, like, he gives up, and he's like, yeah, well, this isn't over, I'll defeat you. Just not today. I'm leaving. I'm running away with my tail is cut off, but if it wasn't, it would be in between my legs. And then, of course, we get Krillin grabs Yajirobe's sword, and he's about to kill Vegeta, which is completely understandable because, Vegeta was responsible for the death of many of his friends. But I guess, like, Goku does have his, like, pride as a warrior as well, because he even mentions how, like, he doesn't feel like he's beaten Vegeta, so he wants, Krillin to let him leave so that, because Goku believes he can get stronger, and so that next time they fight, that Goku will just be able to win.
Yeah.
And it's so, I kind of understand both sides here, especially with, like, I can't imagine having lost a bunch of people I care about, but Goku's a pure-hearted soul, so it works out.
I feel like this is also it takes on a different form than him sparing Piccolo in the 23rd Budokai,
right.
Because like there it was more that he saw like good in Piccolo, that tying into like the stuff with Kami-sama and how like I don't know. Yeah. You made your point last time. You know what I'm referencing.
Yeah, to rephrase it, it's like, Kami was prepared to like kill his past and his regrets, where Goku, didn't see that necessarily. So he just like, he saw that, Kami could, improve and move past that. So, Piccolo, who hadn't done anything, maybe he can become better too. And of course that was proven immediately with his relationship with Gohan.
Yeah. Whereas here it's more, like Goku is just like, man, it would be a waste to not be able to fight this guy and surpass him on my own.
Right. And like, they did lose a bunch of friends, but like with the Dragon Balls, a lot, like, this damage can all be undone, right? So it's not like, he's taken something that they can never get back. Right? So, so yeah, it makes sense.
It's also just like a markedly different, this is where Goku, I think his character kind of like starts to shift in a different direction, where like, thinking back to like the fight with Demon King Piccolo, where he was like, this fight won't be over until like one of us is dead, which is very different than like the attitude he takes with Vegeta here. And I even feel like it's kind of something he comes to think over the course of the fight, because like going into it, he's very like, you see like, Krillin, again, the comment about like, I've never seen Goku this angry before, very reminiscent of, the vengeance he had for Krillin with Demon King Piccolo. But then, like, over the course of the fight, it seems more like Goku kind of is just, like, gets more to enjoy out of the fight, I guess. And I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's interesting.
Right, like, he's almost, like, he's coming to enjoy even these serious fights for, the lives of the people he cares about, right? Because, that's fair. Because I'll have to think, because, like, I kind of remember his character stuff later, particularly, like, his search for a successor. But that mostly comes into play in Cell. So, I don't know. I guess that about covers the reading, because after that, everyone comes in to get Goku medical attention. And of course, we know they're going to Namek, so to get the Dragon Balls. But I think that about covers it for at least what I wanted to say about the arc. Unless you had a few more observations.
No, not particularly. I think we've covered basically everything.
Yep. Understandably a shorter podcast discussion, because it was the shortest reading we're going to have for Dragon Ball going forward. Until Super, I suppose. I think. I don't know. I think, like, that was... was that... Because, like, Goku versus Vegeta, or everyone versus Vegeta is definitely my favorite, like, stuff from Dragon Ball so far, maybe? But, I'm trying to decide if it's my favorite arc so far. Because, like, even if, because, the stuff versus Raditz was good, but it's just, it is kind of overshadowed by the stuff after that. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know how I'd rate the arc exactly, but it's really good. And I'm also looking forward to the next arcs. So, yeah.
Yeah, I should probably start actually working out my arc ranking.
Right, we're gonna have to come up with one in a month and a half.
Because like now that I think about it, like for the last two things we've read, I don't think I've even had an arc ranking.
Right, but Kanikumon's was very easy because it was just like, okay, I think the friendship tag.
Yeah, like the one or two arcs where I was actually invested,
and then it's like the rest where it's like, what I don't. Shut up, Craftsdwarf. I don't care. And with Gintama, like, we did it differently for Gintama anyway because there were so many arcs.
With what? I'm sorry, with what?
What, Tama? Did we really read a manga like that? Having a Toriyama moment? Like, Pai, did I really draw a character like that? Anyway.
I think Ranma is what you were saying. Ranma 1/2, yes.
Yes. The manga that we have totally read. Anyway. So next time we're reading the Namek arc or the Frieza arc, whichever you prefer, which is chapters 242 to 312. 29. So it's like what, 80 chapters or so. It's going to be a long one.
What was that, about a week break?
If you want one, I'm down anytime. Right? Like, I have all the time in the world to read manga. So, especially like, and I do think it'll go by pretty quickly, but we will see. I mean, this was, an hour and a half for like 50 chapters. So who knows? But
no, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of action for like the rest of the series going forward, I imagine.
Pretty much. Which, I mean, because when you think about it, this arc was like a bunch of fighting with like one interlude for training, and you enjoyed it. So, but we'll see how that persists with Namek, which is a lot more fighting over a longer stretch of time. Because, historically, that tends to turn you off. But it's also Dragon Ball, which is a series you already have a prior investment in. So maybe there'll be like an exception in that way. Maybe you'll think of a way Dragon Ball does something differently that, I don't know, you'll be fine. I don't know. Well, we'll find out. It'll be a learning experience. I don't know. So yeah, thank you for listening. And we will see you next time.